Hello, everyone. It's Jayden for Student Pay. Today we are here with Nic Myers. How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. So, you have scored the role of Kathryn in Cruel Intention.
Yeah, fabulous. It's so much fun. It's like an excellent night out for us doing it and anyone coming to watch.
That's awesome. So, taking a step back from that announcement particularly,
Mhm.
what got you personally interested in theatre and acting?
I've always done it. I believe when I was about 6, I asked my mum for tap lessons, and I don't know where I got that from, but I think that was the first thing I asked for. And then it became singing lessons, and then it became acting lessons. And then it was when I was 9, there was an Amdram group, like a youth theatre group. And I was like, well, I want to do that because I think an older girl in my dance school was maybe doing it. And you just kind of like start joining in with everything. And then all of a sudden, it was my whole life for the last 20 years. Yeah, the snowball effect was real. Honestly, it was just every single night after school, Saturdays, Sundays, rehearsing, dance school, singing lessons, exams, just everything.
That's awesome. So, for the Cruel Intentions announcement, what was it particularly about Cruel Intentions that made you want to be a part of it?
I think the same as every job I've done. I don't particularly think, oh, I really want to do that, or I'm desperate to do that, or I'm perfect for that until I get the tape kind of across my desk or the audition. And then I go, actually, maybe I would enjoy that. And I did the tape, which was we had to sing 2 90s pop songs as the audition and do some scripts, do some material. And I thought, you know what, this is really fun. And I watched the film because I hadn't actually watched the film at the time because I'm far too young. So I watched the film after the audition came across me and I loved it. I was like, this is raunchy. This is raunchy. This is sexy. It's just it's on the borderline the whole time of being like inappropriate. And it's just brilliant. I thought, yeah, I want a bit of that.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. And there's some great music in it as well, right? Yeah,
Oh,
especially in the version you're going into. It's like, oh my goodness,
yeah,
some
banger
great
after
songs.
banger. If you're from that, like, if you're born in the 90s or you grew up in the 90s or you grew up in the 2000s, it's all of that. Like, we've got Christina, NSYNC, Boys to Men, Gwen Stefani, just like all the good stuff.
Britney Spears, right?
Yeah, Britney. It feels nostalgic to me, even though it's slightly before, just a few years before my kind of like peak music listening preteen era. But even then, yeah, they're just great tunes.
So your character Catherine, she's very deceptive, and it's like a very
Mm.
romantic character as well. What's sort of the mindset you have to go into to play a character like that on stage, and what's your personal prep?
Catherine is interesting to me because I've never played the baddie, if like quote unquote the baddie or the villain, which she absolutely is. She is a piece of work, and I think I've never done that. I've often done the comedy parts or the kind of the friend or the nice joyous like come in and sing a funny song parts. So or Sally Bowles, which is obviously she's got a heart wrenching story and she's absolutely not the villain in that story. So Catherine, I had to approach it with a kind of okay, let me figure out what I like about her, what I can relate to about her. And that ended up being like, well, she's very confident, she knows who she is, she knows what she wants. And I was like, I can get on board with that. I like that about her. I empathize with her. I think she sees the difference between men and women, between her and Sebastian, how they're treated in society. And I think that deeply irks her. I think that she's very hurt by that. So I was like, okay, that's another thing I can grasp onto to kind of like empathize with her. Because if you're playing a terrible person, it's quite easy to fall into like a, well, she's just terrible, so she's just being awful. So what's the point? Kind of thing. But I try not to do that. So I find all the things that I can relate to and I like about her, despite her awful motives.
Yeah, I was gonna say actually, because I think once you could understand a villain's sort of their methodology and their reason behind what they do, it's like sometimes it kind of is like,
Yeah, it's like, oh, and some people have said to me towards the end of the story, if you don't know it, I won't spoil anything, but some people have said to me, do you know, I kind of felt sorry for her. And I was like, interesting. She is an awful person. Everything that happens, everything that goes wrong in the plot is down to her, like, puppeteering and her mastermind villainy. But yeah, you feel sorry for her at the end. And I was like, that is my job done.
yeah, no, I mean, if you could achieve that, then yeah, I suppose you've done something right at that point. So, so sort of through the process of working on the show, what have been some of your biggest like triumphs and also some of your biggest challenges?
I would say the biggest challenges for me have been it's a very big sing. Catherine has about 9 songs in total, all of them are relentless kind of belts up there. So it's a big thing. It's the biggest thing I've had to do 8 times a week. So that was probably the biggest challenge when I was heading into it, rehearsing for it, and like the first couple of weeks of shows. I was like, oh my goodness, how am I going to manage myself and my body and my voice in order to do this 8 times a week and do it well? So that's going to be an ongoing challenge, to be honest, until the end of the tour. It's exciting to learn what your voice and your body is capable of doing that you didn't think it was. Yeah, so I'd say that's my biggest challenge. My biggest, what was it, triumph?
Yeah, sort of like something
Hmm.
you've done that you've thought, that was pretty great.
I would say kind of similarly, it's when I did my first 8 show week and came out of it alive and being like, do you know what, I was happy with that, or I that felt really healthy and it's in a good place, and that was a big triumph for me, and I just hope that continues until June.
So
Yeah,
for the show in particular, there's a lot of I think there's a relationship between like movies and on stage performances. Like especially recently when we've had like Wicked come out and things like that.
yeah,
But I would also argue there's a magic to seeing something live as opposed to seeing it as a film. So for Cruel Intentions specifically, what
yeah.
do you think makes it draw so much as a stage performance as opposed to the movie version?
I think that's a good question. I think obviously taking the music out, because we are a musical, of course, and the film wasn't a musical. The music adds a lot to like the music evokes so much in people, whether it's like nostalgia or oh, I remember that song. I cried about my first breakup with my first boyfriend to that song, or that song was played at my 18th birthday, and the feeling of like elation and joy. I think the music adds to all those emotions that we already have going in the story. But in terms of if it was just the play, it's basically verbatim the script from the film. So we're just completely taking that, which is an excellent script. The writing is fabulous. It's witty, it's sharp, it's quick, it's pacey. So we've just plopped that straight on stage. I think people enjoy reliving that, but with people who obviously we don't look the same because we can't. So it's like bringing a fresh, what does like Nicola's life experience compared to Sarah Michelle Gellar's life experience bring to this exact same script and this exact same character? I think that's always quite exciting to watch on stage, no matter who it is or what it is. So probably that.
So for for the show, is there like a particular act or scene that you've particularly enjoyed doing?
Yes, I enjoy the end of Act One, which is a big. It's how you round off any first act, to be honest. But it's a big coming together of you see all the people that Kathryn's messed about with and ruined their lives. They sing a bit of this and they sing a bit of that song and they sing a bit of this song, and she's just in the middle taking it all in. Like, look what I've done, and that is so fun to play. And the song I'm singing throughout all of that is "Only Happy When It Rains," which is a banger. So
Yeah.
all of that kind of like her stirring all the pots, that's a fun moment for me. And then I'd probably say my favorite scene is the end with Will play Sebastian, that blow up of their relationship and everything that's happened in the plot. That blow up scene is probably my favorite.
I think going back to what you were saying about the end of Act One, but I've always thought that the end of Act One should always feel like an ending, and then Act Two should make you sort of recontextualize that and give it a different ending. I always think if you can cut off a show at Act One and you still have a cohesive story, that's good on its own. But if you can make it a
Mm.
bad ending, that's awesome. Like
Mm.
I saw Into the Woods pretty recently, and I love how it's just a good ending with the end of Act One, and then you
Yes, it
carry it
could
on to
end
Act
at the end
Two,
of
and it's
that.
just a darker ending.
Yeah.
Like I love a show that can do that. I think it's such a cool feature to have.
Yeah, I do get that. Our end of Act One is kind of the other option to that is like leaving it on a cliffhanger because obviously you had to split the film somehow into two
Mhm.
parts. And I think the place where we've chosen to split it is an excellent place. I think it leaves the audience going, oh my God, what's just happened? This is chaotic. We get that word a lot. This is chaotic. And what is going to happen next? If they don't know the film, go, oh my God, what is she going to do next? And I think that's where we leave our Act One, which is very fun.
To get
Mm-hmm.
into what you're doing now, what skills have you sort of needed to get to the point where you're able to be cast in things like this?
Trained at drama school. I went to Arts Ed for 3 years. And I think that school kind of gave me all the tools, if you want to call them tools to be able to play the industry and be in it. So the obvious is singing, acting, dancing, if you want to be in musicals. That typically the trifecta that you need. Aside from that, I think skills such as like being a storyteller can kind of go across all three of those disciplines, like telling the story, conveying whatever you want to convey to the audience is a different skill in itself to just like being able to point your toes or do a pirouette or sing a top C. I think that storytelling is and being clear with your intentions. I think that's a skill in itself. And I think I gained that more from jobs than rather than at drama school. So just like being in amongst it and watching from like older peers or people who've been in the game for 20 years. The skills like how to rehearse, I think is a skill in itself, like how to take notes and how to be an active member of a group when you're creating something and being collaborative with other people, with a creative team or an MD or other actors. I think that's another skill. Be good at what you do, love what you do, I think even more importantly, and be good to work with and be a nice person. I think honestly that will get people further than I think they realise. Being a joy in a room will bring you back if you've done one job, will bring you back for another job and another job after that. Or when people think, oh God, I need someone who can learn things quickly and can belt really well. Like, do you know anyone? And people go, I loved working with that person. Yes. And always just throwing yourself into stuff.
So, what's been your favourite role that you've ever played then?
Yeah, it was Sally Bowles. I don't think you can reasonably say that there is any better part for women in musical theatre. It's Sally Bowles. She's the part, which was a privilege. And I can't believe I did it.
I genuinely, like, I can't imagine being in your shoes. You know, it must be so awesome to be able to play so many different parts and have people there watching, you know, in such amazing
Yeah.
places as well.
Yeah, it's a privilege, and it's what I think taking a step back once a week, twice a week to go, oh my God, if 14-year-old me knew this was happening, it's the dream for so many people. And for it to be able to happen through, you know, luck, hard work, dedication and passion and just loving it, I feel like the fruits of all of that coming together, it's joyous.
So, based on like your own personal experiences, do you have any specific advice for like aspiring performers who are looking to sort of get into professional theatre?
Yeah, I think it is rough ride going it alone. Having an agent is going to be the biggest thing to help anyone. Reaching out to agents, and in doing that, recording a vocal reel, getting a show reel done, getting some scenes, working with them, reaching out to people, emailing people. Yeah, if you're coming at it from that angle, it's tough, and being freelance is tough. But if you love it enough and you can like manage to keep the passion alive somehow, is more likely to happen.